श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने ब्रह्मवद्व्यक्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय
प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।
सहनावतु
सहनौ
भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै।
विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Nachiketa's original question: is there something that survives the death of the body? You recognize that the Sharira dies. He is born and he dies. What happens after that? What remains? What is the nature of whatever that remains? What happens to it? Where does it disappear? He also knows that any karma is done by the complex of body, mind, senses. Therefore, any karma phala has to be experienced by the same body, mind, sense complex. So he wants to know, this something that is there, if it is there, will it be subject to punya papa? In fact, he knows it won't, because punya papa is based on karma, it's based on the sharira. And the sharira, once dead, is either buried or burnt. So that which is not subject to dharma, adharma, punya papa, not subject to time, that was his question. So all this time, Yamadharmaraja has been explaining that there is the Atma. One has to recognize the Atma as the self, not the body, mind, sense complex. And that Atma, all that we read about the Atma, all those verses which talked about Etad Vaitat, he explained all that. In between, Nachiketa also, in the second boon, wanted to know how can any human being, get to Svargaloka. That also explained to him in great detail by Yamadharmaraja. And having shown all this, Yamadharmaraja, we can now understand that there will be a set of people, very small set of people, into which group we can include ourselves hopefully sooner or later, who understand the reality. And once we understand the reality of the self, there is no going or no coming. Why? Because the self is the very adhisthana for time and space also. Everything here is you. And you are independent. You are free. There's a small group of people who, once they understand, lose the individual ahankara. It doesn't physically go. It remains because Sharira remains till Sharira's time has come and exhausts all its karma. And therefore, the Sharira has to operate, needs an identifier, an ahankara. But this ahankara becomes now the enlightened ahankara. Recognizes that there is nothing called an individual ahankara. Whatever individual ahankara you see is only mithya. Therefore, there is no travel. We saw that earlier. No gati. But this is only a very small fraction of the total population of humans. What happens to the rest? The rest are broadly classified into three categories. We can actually look at it ourselves. One, who have no shraddha in the Shastra. And therefore they do what they do as kamya karma. Somehow I must get something better for this particular individual, karya karana sanghata. Therefore I will get whatever I can to get a little temporary comfort. That's one set of people, probably the largest group. Then among the people who have shraddha in the Shastra, who will do what is expected of them, not out of kamya karma, but because it is something to be done. That also, what happens when they do what they should do what is to be done and stay within dharma, for them there is gati, there is travel. For the person who has no shraddha in the Shastra, also there is gati. After the body falls, that Atma is still there, but in Hindi में बोलते हैं ना भटकते रहते हैं within the samsara, ऊपर नीचे, they keep shuttling between various points. One who does karma as prescribed, with the intention of going to another loka after the fall of the body, will get to that loka. But even within that, there is a gradation. The highest form of loka called Brahmaloka. And there, Shastra says, not only does the person do karma, nishkamya karma, but also does upasana. Upasana, all the other things included, prayers, meditation, japa, ityadi. So when a person does that, karma and upasana, Shastra tells us he can reach Brahmaloka. What is the difference? Both Brahmaloka and all other lokas are short trips. You define the short. How short is short? You come back. In Brahmaloka, there is a possibility that the person will have access to this Brahmagyanam through Brahmaji. And then what happens? If he doesn't get that knowledge assimilated, aparokshataya, then at the end of the kalpa, when the Brahmaji also changes, he will also go through a unmanifestation, remanifestation process. But suppose he understands exactly the way we talk about a person understanding the truth here in this Martyaloka, same thing will happen to them. Such a person gains complete freedom, moksha. He is not apekshika moksha. Everything else at best is apekshita moksha, relative moksha. There are in our lives also, there are points in life when we are absolutely free. In what sense? The want is gone for a very short time. We've experienced this. In sleep, we experience there's no want in sleep. And many other times in the Jagat, we experience it for a short time. So we do experience moksha. Absolute freedom, no want. No wanting is moksha. There's no need. When you understand and recognize moksha as the ultimate, as purnatvam, you don't have any more want because you know there's nothing more to gain. It is purnatvam. In every other sense, it is a temporary gain, not really moksha. For convenience, we call it apekshika moksha. So in each of these groups of people, that's something that survives. What happens to it? Where does it go? There is travel. And Yamadharmaraja suddenly switches to those people. In a sense, is glorifying the real knowledge, which is moksha. What happens to other people? We are supposed to have in the Sharira a large number of what is called nadi, nadya in plural. Sometimes I see nadi translated as nerve. It's not really nerve. It's any channel. In fact, somewhere I've seen it's also called tubular structures. Anything that carries blood is nadi. Anything that carries any signal is nadi. But nadi essentially is a channel. And we have a spot at the back of the head which is supposed to open up to allow the combination of prana and sukshma along with the reflected jiva to travel upward. And wherever that combination goes, it has to find another sharira. Because every loka, wherever it goes, needs a sharira appropriate for that loka. The sharira we have is appropriate for Martya loka. You go to some other loka, why go to some other loka? Even if you go to the moon or Mars, this sharira won't work. But other lokas, clearly they need a different sharira. So in this next mantra, Yamadharmaraja gives a glimpse of what happens. Shatanchaika cha hridayasya nadyah tasam murdhanam abhinisthritaika
तासां मूर्धानमभिनिश्चितैका
tayoho urdhvam
तयोः ऊर्ध्वम्
ayan amritatvameti
अयन्नमृतत्वमेति
Murdhamayan amritatvameti
तयोर्ध्वमायन्नमृतत्वमेति
Vishwanganya utkamane bhavanti.
विश्वङ्गन्य उत्क्रमणे
भवन्ति
भवन्ति
There are 101 of these nadis, according to this. These channels, which originate according to this from the heart. Hridayasya Nadya. Among them, one emerges through this spot at the top of the head, the crown of the head, and going through that, one attains, it says Amrtatvam, but this is really Apekshika Amrtatvam. Where do you gain Apekshika Amrtatvam? Brahmaloka. And what happens to others? Vishwanganya Utkramane Bhavanti. Others take different directions and will lead to rebirth. Even Brahmaloka, as we looked at, it's not necessary that you will get moksha. You may get moksha. In which case, there is no rebirth. But it is also possible, like I said, at the end of the kalpa, along with the new Brahmaji, you might get a new Sharira. Why does Vyamdharmaraja bring in this in the middle of this Upadesha? Shankaracharya gives an introduction. He says that this is important to understand that the bulk of the people, bulk of human race falls into this category. Only a very few handful of people even make an attempt to understand the truth. And even among those, some people find it in this lifetime, some keep going for another lifetime, another lifetime. So bulk of this humanity still in this state. Either they have to do kami karma and then they keep rotating in this samsara, or they do only karma as specified, in which case they go to one of the lokas for enjoying themselves for a period of time, then come back. And the third category, people who do karma along with upasana can go to Brahmaloka. And in Brahmaloka, they may get the jnanam from Brahmaji. If they don't, they also come back. If they do, they wait to the end of the kalpa. So he says, 101 nadis are there going out from the heart. And this, of these one, which is called Sushumna Nadi, travels, allowing you one to get to Brahmaloka. Very complex process. Because even to get there, one's life on the earth has to be extremely controlled. So it's not all that easy. So this is what Shankaracharya says. Nirasta Ashesha Vishesha Vyapi Brahmatma Pratipatya. Nirasta Ashesha Vishesha Vyapi Brahmatma Paripatya.
Nirasta Ashesha Vishesha Vyapi Brahmatma Pratipatya.
This one of few Vidwan, having negated all Vishesha. Vishesha is what? Properties, characteristics. Ashesha, without any baki. They've negated everything. In other words, what? Nirguna Brahman they recognize. Ashesha, Vishesha, that Nirguna Brahman is Sarvavyapi. It is not characterless. Character has a completely different meaning, okay? It is no properties, no guna. Sarvavyapi, Brahmatma, Brahma eva Atma. iti pratipatya, clearly recognizing. And this is what we're trying to do in trying to understand what Dharmaraja has to say about this Brahman in this Upanishad. Then what happened? Pratipatya prabhinna samasta avidyadi grantehe.
प्रभिन्न समस्त अविद्यादि ग्रंथेः
Freeing from all the grantha. Grantha is knots, we've seen that. What are the kind of knot? Avidya adi grantehe. Avidya, kama, karma. Avidya leads to kama, kama leads to karma, and all that follows. Prabhinna, different from, detached from, freed from. Samasta avidyadi grantehe, all of them, freed from all of them. Such a vidwan who has understood the nature of Brahman as I, jivataha eva, in this janma, in this loka itself, in this sharira itself, jivataha eva, brahma bhutasya vidushaha. This vidusha is what I attached right at the beginning. This vidusha, this vidwan, who recognizes this Brahman as one without any vishesha, who is sarva-vyapi, and who has removed all confusions, all knots, complete mananam is done. Jivataha eva, while alive in this janma, in this body itself, Brahma bhutasya, one who understands Brahman, Brahma bhutasya vidushaha, that such a vidusha, such a vidwan, na gatir vidyate, na gatihi vidyate, has no travel. This is what we are trying to understand. Such a vidwan has no travel. Why no travel? We recognize that this whole body-mind sense complex is mithya, is another order of reality. I cannot be any of these. Therefore, no gati. Because I recognize I as Brahman, unborn Brahman, one without any guna, any vishesha. That's a Brahman. Atra, let's read this. Atra Brahma samashnute
अत्र ब्रह्म समश्नुते
iti uktavat.
इति
इति
उक्तवात्
उक्तवात्
Iti uktatvat, having been told.
इति उक्तत्वा
What has been told? That such a vidwan who recognizes the self as Brahman, which is nirguna, which has cleared all doubts, all the granthas, such a person, atra, here itself, jivataha eva, recognizes Brahman as I. Brahma samashnute. This has been told to us. That's fine. But how many such people are there? Very few. What happens to the others? So Acharya says, na tasya pranaha
न तस्य
न तस्य
प्राणाः
प्राणाः
utkramanti
उत्क्रामन्ति
उत्क्रामन्ति
brahmaiva sanna
ब्रह्मैव सन्
ब्रह्मैव सन्
brahma apyeti.
ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
आप्येति.
आप्येति.
This is a quote from Brihadaranyaka. This buttressing his statement, saying, the prana, which is what leaves the sharira. For such a person, there is nothing, nowhere for the prana to go. Prana is sukshma sharira. Sthula sharira, sukshma sharira, all are in this mithya jagat. Na tasya prana utkramanti Brahmaiva sanna Brahma apyeti. He is Brahman. He recognizes himself as Brahman. Everything else as Anatma. Iti Shrutyantarascha.
Iti
Iti
Shrutyantarascha.
Shrutyantarascha.
But this is only like very few people. What happened to others? Ye punaha
Ye
Ye
gunaha
punaha
amma manda brahma vidaha
Brahma
Manda
Manda
Brahma
Brahma
Vidaha
Vidaha
vidyantara shilanascha
Vidyantara
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 Shilanascha
Shilanascha
amma loka bhajaha.
Brahma
Brahma
Loka
Loka
Lokabhajaha.
Bhajaha
Interesting words he uses. Ye punaha, again, there are manda brahma vidaha. Manda brahma, manda means
Dull.
less bright, let us say. What should it qualify? Should it qualify the vidaha, the whose understanding is manda, or should it qualify Brahman? There is no such thing as manda Brahman. Okay. There is only one Brahman. But for purposes of our understanding, we can interpret it saying manda Brahman as Saguna Brahman.
Oh.
In this context, it makes sense. The one who understands Saguna Brahman, or you can say, look at it the other way, Manda being qualifying the Vidaha, whose knowledge is Manda, who doesn't recognize Nirguna Brahman, who is still pushing for gaining lokas, such a person, Vidyanantara Shilanascha, who is an Upasaka, Anya Vidya. One is Brahma Vidya, which is what we are trying to understand. Other is all the Karma Kanda. Anya Vidya. Apara Vidya we've seen. One is focusing on that. Brahma Loka Bhajaha, interesting term he uses. One who can be fit for Brahma Loka, which means is somebody who's done karma, who's done upasana, but hasn't understood Brahman in the true sense of the word. He thinks probably I'll be sitting here, my guru is telling me Brahman, Brahman, I don't understand. I am going to work very hard, I'm going to do whatever upasana I have to do so that I can get to Brahma Loka, and I will request Brahmaji to teach me. What will Brahmaji do? He will also say Tattvamasi. No different. Brahma Loka Bhajaha, who is fit for, who is deserving of Brahma Loka Gati. And then there are others. So this Saguna Brahma Upasaka, who does karma and upasana, is heading toward Brahma Loka. Ye cha
Ye cha
Ye cha
tad viparitaha
Tad
Tad
Viparitaha
Viparitaha
samsara bhajaha
Samsara
Samsara
Bhajaha
Bhajaha
yesham yesha gati vishesha uchyate
Tesham Eva
Teshameva
Gativishesha
Gati
Uchyate
Vishesha Uchyate
prakrita utkrishta brahma vidya phalastutaye.
Prakrita Utkrishta
Prakriti
Brahma Vidya
Utkrisha Brahma
Phalastutaya
Vidya Falastutiye
Others, yet others, who don't do upasana, but who do a lot of karma. Upasaka, they are not upasakas. Yecha tad viparitaha. Who are not like these upasakas who do a lot of upasana. They only do karma. Karmatas. Viparitaha samsara bhajaha. They are destined to samsara only. Really speaking, every loka is also part of samsara, including Brahmaloka. But Brahmaloka gives you an escape route. If one might get there and get Brahmaji would accept him as a Shishya, he might gain the jnana. But why go through all that? You get it here, right here and now. That's what the first sentence said. You don't have to go anywhere. Jivataha eva, atraiva. You can get it. Why go through all the processes? And they're not easy processes. Tesham esha gati vishesha uchyate. Why is this being told here? So he says, Prakritehe utkrishta brahma vidya phalastutaye. To understand the value, the glory of Brahma Vidya, all other Vidya, Apara Vidya can get you all the way up to Brahmaloka. But only Brahma Vidya, whether you learn it here or Brahmaji accepts you as a Shishya and teaches you the same thing, that is the only one that is Utkrishta. Prakrita Utkrishta Brahma Vidya Phalastutaye. To do stuti, to glorify this Brahma Vidya, it is being told here about the others, or either only Karmata or Karma Upasakas. Kincha
Kincha
Anyat Agni Vidya Prashta
Anyat
Pratyukta
Agnividya
Vidya
Prashta.
Kincha. Also, you can look at it another way. Why is it being said here? See, the whole thing is Bhashyakara is explaining why this mantra here, where we are trying to understand Brahma Vidya, why is this been inserted here? One, he said, is to glorify Brahma Vidya. If you don't get Brahma Vidya, what is your gati? Second, he says, also Nachiketa had asked for this knowledge. Remember, he asked for as a second boon the knowledge of the Vidhi to gain Swargaloka. So he says, Kincha, Anyat, another way of looking at it, he says, is Agni Vidya Prushta Pratyukta cha. Nachiketa asked for the Agni Vidya, and that was told in great detail to him. This is what happens if you take that path. Tasyasya
Syasya
Phalaprapti Prakaraha
Phalaprapti Prakaraha
Vaktavya iti mantra arambha.
Vaktavya iti mantra arambha.
Therefore, this mantra is begun here for these two reasons. First, to glorify Brahma Vidya. Okay, this is all fine, but you'll go and come back. This is how we'll go. There will be gati. And second, because it is an extension of the answer to Nachiketa on Agni Vidya. So, Shatam Chaika cha hridayasya nadyah tasam murdhanam abhinisritaika tayor madhyan mritattvameti vishvanganya utkramane bhavanti. What happens to these people? This is what is said here. So now Bhashyakara goes into the actual mantra and gives us the Bashyam. There is a sentence here which I don't see here. With a nice sentence. Karma upasana samuchaya phalam saguna brahma vidya phalam. This is only about that, about you karma upasana samuchaya phalam. Karma phalam, upasana phalam, and then samuchaya phalam together. What do you get? This is what explained here. Also called saguna brahma vidya. Okay. Shatancha.
Yatancha
Shata sankhya kaha.
Sankhyakhyaha
Eka cha sushumna nama.
एका च
एका च
सुषुम्ना
सुषुम्ना
नाम
नाम
पुरुषस्य हृदयात्
पुरुषस्य
no हृदयात् पुरुषस्य हृदयात्
विनिश्चिति
पुरुषस्य हृदयात्
विनिशिष्य
विनिश्चिताः
विनिसृता नाड्यः
नाड्यः शिराः
नाड्यः
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 शिराः
शिराः
शतञ्च 100 nadis shatashankhyaakaha 100 nadis. Of these, one ekacha shushumna nama, all starting with the heart, purushasya hridayat, from the heart, purushasya hridayat, vinishritaha, arising from, going up from, vinishritaha, comes out from. One comes out and goes through the top of the head, the crown of the head. Shiraha. Right? All of them go up through the head only, but one goes through the Shushumna Nadi. Tasam Madhye
पापां मध्ये
तासां मध्ये
Urdhanam Bhitva
मूर्धानां
मूर्धानां
भित्त्वा
भित्वा
Abhinishritaha
अभिनिश्चिताः
Nirgata Shushumna Nama
निर्गता
निर्गता
सुषुम्ना
सुषुम्ना
नाम
नाम
Tasam Madhye, of the middle of the, so many nadis keep going out. So many paths are available for the prana to go. But of them, one Murdhanam Bhitva, breaking open the crown of the head, emerges. Abhinasrataha, called Shushumna Nama. This is for the person who is both Karmata and Upasaka. Very tough act to follow. So for him, there is a possibility of reaching Brahmaloka through the Shushumna Nadi. Sometimes I feel that Vedanta gives this model in some kind of detail, but all the time our focus is not here. Our focus is not on this mantra at all. Our focus is on understanding the nature of I, Brahman. So I am not part of this category. Where is my interest? Okay, if this is the way, there is one Shushumna Nadi. Same thing, with people talk about chakras. Okay, have chakras. I'm not interested in that. All this is within the samsara. You'll go, come back. You'll go, come back. The only way you're freed of samsara is through the understanding of Atma as Brahman. Therefore, these details I would take and say, okay, there is something like that. Very good, let it be there. There is Shushumna Nadi. That is how the Jagat was formed. That is how the Sukshma Sharira came. That's how the Sthula Sharira came. Only up to that point. My interest is not in greatly analyzing and become a scholar in those areas. My interest is not researching how many nadis are there. My interest is not in understanding what is the exact meaning of the word nadi. Okay, that's a model. Because that all belongs to the Mithya Samsara. I understand Mithya. I don't have to split hair within samsara. I don't need to get into a hair-splitting argument with anybody. It's exactly like saying, Ramayana and Mahabharata, there's so many research scholars do work on trying to date it exactly. Is it something that really happened, or is it fictional, or is it a combination? How does it matter? For the purpose for which we have set out, those details are, really speaking, irrelevant. But good to know. It's good to know that there are several nadis. In fact, somewhere else I saw there are lakhs of nadis. This one says 100 nadis. How does it matter? One Sushumna nadi, according to this, escapes through the top of the head. Murdhanam bitva abhinisritaha nirgata Sushumna nama. Okay. Taya
तया
antakale hridaye
अंतकाले
काले
हृदये
हृदये
atmanam vashikritya
आत्मानं वशीकृत्य
yojayet.
योजयेत्.
For the karmata and upasaka, antakale focus on the atmanam vashikritya yojayet. Must have total control. Being a karmata and upasaka is bad enough. Then at the time of death, that upasaka has to focus on this and keep everything under control. Know that, okay, my Sushumna nadi is going this way, it's going over my head, through my head. If we make some mistake anywhere, one way he may not go to Brahmaloka. If his whole purpose was to go to Brahmaloka, it may happen, it may not happen. You don't have to go through all that. But he said very clearly that the upasaka must have total control over whatever happens. Otherwise, he is just letting it loose. Therefore, Taya of that, Antakale Hridaye Atmanam Vashikritya Yojayet. Be in complete control. At that time, don't panic saying, oh, I'm going to die. I've not done so many things in life. Your whole life of this upasaka has been to get to Brahmaloka. And through life, he's had to do a lot of karma, a lot of upasana. And at the time of death also, he's got to do a lot of work. Anywhere along the line, he misses out, he will have a problem. He may not get to Brahmaloka. He may go to another loka, which means he'll continue to be in samsara. Interesting. What happens to this person who's upasaka? If you remember, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, talks about two gati. One Shukla gati and Krishna gati. One path of the sun and the other path of the moon. One may not come back. It says will not come back, but I'm saying may not come back because Brahmaloka is also not a certainty. Another will come back. If you remember these 2-3 shlokas in chapter 8, Agnir Jyotirah Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Vidojanaha. And that is one path, Shuklagati. Then Dhumo Ratris Tatha Krishnagati Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasan Jyotihi Yogi Prapya Nivartate Shukla Krishne Gati Hete Jagata Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yanyaya Vrittim Anyaya Vartate Punaha Ekaya Yati Avritam Anyaya Avrite Punah. One goes, one doesn't come back, the other comes back. And that's why I said, no, one doesn't say one doesn't come back, one may not come back. One may find moksha. Taya nadya
Nadya
urdhvam upari ayan
urdhvam
ऊर्ध्वम् उपरि आयन्
gachan
gacchन्
गच्छन्
aditya dwarena
आदित्यद्वारेण
आदित्यद्वारेण
amritatvam
अमृतत्वम्
अमृतत्वम्
amarana dharmatvam
अमरणधर्मम्
अमरणधर्मम्
मरणधर्मत्वम्
apekshikam.
आपेक्षिकम्
आपेक्षिकम्
What happens? Taya nadya urdhvam. Urdhvam means upari. Urdhvam ayan. He explains it gachan. Ayan is gachan. Aditya dharena. By the path of the sun. Aditya dwarena. Amritatvam. Because in our mantra itself, he talks about Amritatvam eti. Shankaracharya makes it clear this is not moksha. What does he say? Amritatvam, and then he explains it. Amarana dharmatvam apekshikam. Relative amarana dharmam. There is only one moksha. Only one Brahman, only one moksha, and there's only one way to gain that is through jnanam. Through recognizing the reality of Brahman and the reality of I as being the same. There is no other way. Nanya panta vidyate ayanaya. You cannot gain this any other way. Everything else will be at best apekshikam. He explains it further. Brahmanava
ब्रह्मणा वा
saha kalantarena
सः
कालान्तरेण
मुख्यम अमृतत्वम एति
मुख्यम्
मुख्यम्
अमृतत्वमेति
अमृतत्वमिति
ब्रह्मणा वा सह kalantarena. Alternately, or else, Brahmana saha kalantarena mukhyam amritatvam eti. You go to Brahmaloka and Brahmaji teaches you. You gain the jnanam. There also you have to gain the jnanam. There is no other way. A teacher has to teach and we have to gain the jnanam. Then what happened? You wait till the kalpa is over. Very long time. Kalantarena. After a very long, kalpa is a very long period. Compared to earth years, it's some billions of years. So you wait. And then you gain mukhyam amritatvam. Because you again got the same jnanam. Tattvamasi jnanam is being given to you by Brahmaji as the Guru. It is no different from the Tattvamasi jnanam we gain from our Guru here. No different. You can't go to Brahmaloka and say, I hope that Brahmaji will give me something more than what my Guru here can give. There is nothing more to give. It's the only knowledge. Tattvamasi, if we understand with all its ramifications, Satyam, Mithya, all of the doubts and everything is clarified, then you're able to do Nidhyasanam and gain that knowledge as Aparoksha Jnanam. Whether you do it here, whether you do it Brahmaloka, it's the same. Then what happened? After going to Brahmaloka, after a very long time, he calls it Mukhyam Amritatvam. Mukhyam Amritatvam is the only Amritatvam really. Everything else is Apekshik Amritatvam. You could gain after a long gap. During the gap, what do? Bhuktva. You are in Brahmaloka, You enjoy whatever Brahmaloka can offer you. You go to Swargaloka, Atyadi Loka, you also enjoy everything it can offer you, but then you come back. In Brahmaloka, if Brahmaji has taught you, then you enjoy all that till the kalpa is over. So he says, Bhuktva, what should I say that? Oh, no, not read it. Bhuktva,
Bhuktva
Bhogan Anupaman,
Bhogan Anupaman
Brahmalokagatan.
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 So, having gone to the Brahmaloka, if one is taught by Brahmaji, the same jnanam that we are trying to learn, then one understands, one is able to assimilate its aprokshritaya. There also there can be possibilities of obstructions. But if you understand aprokshritaya, then you gain mukhyam amritatvam. So here also what do we say? Shastra tells us that once you gain this knowledge, you get Jivan Mukti. Then Jivan Mukti, you live in the same Sharira, but now you're Mukta Purushaha. Then what happens? The Prarabdha gets exhausted. Whatever time is left, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, whatever time is left. At the end of the time, the body falls, and there is no other body required. One is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi is clear. Brahmaloka also is the same thing. As here, they are also saying. If you gain the jnanam through the teachings of Brahmaji, it's also same there. But for a very long period, you stay in Brahmaloka. And then at the end of the kalpa, you get Mukhyam Amritatvam. What happens to all the others? These are people who are qualified to go to Brahmaloka. But he said that there are others. Vishwanganya Utkramana Bhavanti. Anyaha Vishwang Utkramane Bhavanti. There are others who take different directions, other different nadis. What happens to them? So he says, Vishwang
Vishwam
Vishwam.
Nana Vida Gatayaha
Nanavidagatayah
Nanavidagatayah.
Nadyaha
Anyanadyah
Nadyah.
Utkamane Nimittam Bhavanti.
Ramane
Utramane
Nimittam
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 Bhavanti.
Bhavanti.
So all the others, I would add including those who went to Brahmaloka but did not get the jnanam. There's a possibility that also. All others who've taken different route. Vishwang means others. Nana Vidagataya, who've taken different paths, different nadis. Who've taken different nadis and different things. Anyaha Nadyaha. Other nadis taking different directions, different paths. Utkarmane Nimittam Bhavanti. They become the reason for their rebirth. Thus, through the other nadis, when prana goes, prana means here, entire Sukma Sharira, then another set of prarabdha is given, and according to that prarabdha, another Sthula Sharira is given. So depending upon where one goes, one might have a Sthula Sharira for Devaloka. So you have the Sharira appropriate for Devaloka and remain experiencing all that you experience in Devaloka for the period till which the Punya remains. At the end of that, again you give up that Sharira, whatever the Shariras we don't know. Again you take another Sharira and come back to this Martiloka. This Sharira can be that of a mosquito. It can be that of a whale. It can be that of a Manushya. So that Sharira appropriate for that prarabdha for this loka the person goes through. So that gati becomes the nimitta for the next birth, the reason for the next birth. So the samsara doesn't go away. So karmatas will hang around in samsara till they gain the jnanam. The karma upasakas, karma, that samuchaya, who do both, can get to Brahmaloka and may get jnanam from Brahmaji. But the truth is, the only way you can get out of samsara is through understanding the nature of Brahman as I. No different. That's the only way. Samsara pratipatyartha eva
संसार प्रतिपत्तार्था एव
avanti ityartha.
भवन्ति इत्यर्थः.
This only means that the person remains in samsara, is born again into samsara. Samsara, remember, includes all the lokas. Everything is included in samsara. Whether you stay in a Devaloka or you come back here in this loka, it is samsara. Even in this loka, there are different levels. One can be having a relatively happy life. One can be having a relatively difficult life. Everywhere it's possible. So I was thinking the other day, you go to Indraloka. Indraloka also has a king who is an Indra. So the fellow who is generally always striving to get more, might eye that Indra's position. I want that position. I don't want to be a secondary citizen in Indraloka. So there also you'll have all these problems. But till the jnanam is clear and it is aparoksha, one will bhatko in this samsara only. Up and down, up and down, up and down. So in this mantra, Yamadharmaraja has done two things. One, it made it clear that there is only one way to gain moksha, and that is through jnanam. And it also said that because you asked how to go to Svargaloka, I'm telling you what happens. I've told you all the processes. If you follow the process, what will happen? If your prana leaves through the Sushumna Nadi, one goes to Brahmaloka. Any other Nadi, one goes to other lokas and comes back. Having said this, then we'll go back to summarizing all that he said, which we will look at in the next class. We'll hopefully finish in the next class. There are only 2 or 3. They're not great. Finish it in tomorrow's class. After that, we will take up either Kathopanishad or Prashnopanishad with Shankara Bashyam. I will tell you where to get the books also. Already I think Atreya has done some work on that. It's available. Both these books are available in the Gorakhpur Press. So if you can find out where it is, or on, if you are not in India, on Amazon or someplace, we will try and help you with that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om
Shri
Namaha.
Guru Namaha.
नमस्ते गुरुजी।
Namaskara,
धन्यवादाः
धन्यवाद.
नमस्काराः पुनः